All right. It was Tank for 32, and here's our director, screenwriter, producer, Nick Gillespie. It has been called a vampire of Jera cinemas by one reviewer. We don't know what that means, but we told him he should keep it as a signature.
Very proud of that.
That's where we started in the dark. Anyway. All right. Any question for Nick?
Tell
us about your short story.
The short story, we were just talking about that. It's really the way I start with, I guess, what eventually becomes a movie is just by sitting and writing the story. And it was called the Smith Hill Forest Incident, and it was based on a video I found on the internet, which you can all go and look at, which is some soldiers that have been given LSD. It's a black and white movie, I think from Porton Down in the 1960s, which is a military science place in the UK, where they do loads of weird and wonderful stuff. Probably not as bad as you think. And I kind of built a story around that, and kind of wondered if I could develop it into a longer movie, a film, a feature film, with the starting point of a bunch of soldiers who've been given this weird drug, not LSD or something else, and then kind of take it from there. It's kind of a point to start. I used to be a soldier, and I was given LSD and tested. So I was, I mean, as a youngster, I was very interested in like pictures and making movies and things like that. I didn't have a camera as a youngster, but I got into film as a camera assistant and started that way. So started at the very bottom, but meanwhile working on various other films and projects. I always made my own stuff. We made a short film called Samuel and Emily versus the World, which you can find on YouTube, and it's kind of set in the same universe. Finn, Bruce, the producer, and me got together, and we found a location where they had some tanks. So it was kind of, there was very little money to make this. We couldn't make a big Hollywood picture, or we tried to do something a bit different and work with our budget. But we knew we had a tank, which was really cool. But we came up with this idea of setting a story in a tank and trying to make the most of what we had as a location.
There's some sort of armoured vehicle up ahead.
Get in! Get in! Close the hatch! Close it!
So we had three tanks, and the place we found was it was all shot in this. It's like a country estate, a bit like a national park, like a small version back home. Really small there. Yeah. And what they do there is there's a company there called Juniper Leisure, and they have it's a bit like maybe you would go on a paintballing trip with your friends from work or something, but they have a load of tanks. I don't know why, but because it's cool, yeah. But they have loads of tanks, so you can kind of go and drive them with your friends. And we had three. We had one that we used as an interior where we kind of cut holes in the sides so we could put cameras and lights through. Then we had one that was that we blew up and set on fire, and then one that moved with a driver. Yeah. I went in the back of that. It was horrible. It was really loud, really scary.
So they let you cut holes?
Yeah. We had some of our little budget that we had. We hired a driver and we paid for one of the tanks. It wasn't very. It was like a second-hand car or something. The army have got loads of those things. Yeah, there's one outside actually. I wish. The Smith was writing in a notebook. So that thing of trying not to give it to people on a plate, but not give too much away. Basically, he knows about the experiment to a certain extent, and he's writing down reactions in Storyland. Where this is what I talked to him, Gordon, the actor. He's writing down each of the doses that these soldiers, mercenaries, and test subjects have been given, and he's keeping a record of that. But the irony of it, in fact, is that he's part of the experiment, and he's kind of evil people that are testing them and don't really care about that. That was the idea. How do we come up with the budget?
We had the producer for the first screening.
Yeah.
You should have answered that question. Yeah, call him.
How did we come up with the budget? Well, it was all through private investment, and we kind of had the short film, which we toured a bunch of festivals in Europe with, and then had a script and developed, and then we made this kind of brochure, which we took around as many people as we could in London, and then tried to get them to be involved. And we found people, because it's essentially an partially experimental movie. We found some very brave investors that would get on board with it. So it was done that way, really.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the cinematography, the shots, in the tank, for instance, the tank scene. Could you explain maybe were there any difficulties, shooting sort of the side sort of angle, for instance, or and even in the forest, I think the landscape shots, could you talk about the cinematography?
Yeah. Of the movie.
Yeah.
It was very difficult working inside the tank. It was a real tank. And there was talk early to build a set. We couldn't afford to build a set for starters, and there was also this kind of romantic idea of using a real tank because of the smell of it. And it stinks. It's really old and wet and rusty, and I like that, and being in it and exploring the micro world of that, but also for the cast as well, and having them in there. If you bang your head, that's a big old metal thing that you're going to bang your head on. So that Billy Jackson, the cinematographer, was often in the tank with an Arri Alexa, which is a big full-size camera, and he had it on his shoulder, or we try and get it in and around, and it was really tricky being in there filming with 6 people. And then the outside world, because originally the whole thing was set inside a tank, and it was the problem of running out of shots and how to make that interesting. Because essentially you've got 6 people sat around a table facing each other as if it was like a meal. So we had this expanse at the beginning, very wide lenses, and this freedom of nature and this beautiful world where this horrible story takes place in. So it was kind of starting very big and wide, and then getting kind of closer and closer and closer.
We have time for one last quick question that requires a quick answer. Yes.
How Ben Wheatley was involved in the project.
What was that, sorry?
How Ben Wheatley was involved in the project.
How was Ben was involved in it? Yeah.
So what did you...
Well, I worked with Ben for about 10 years now or something, on various other movies, most of his films, and he's been very supportive of my short films, and he's kind of been supportive of me as a filmmaker, kind of developing. So when I told him I was making a film about some people trapped in a tank, he was excited and then helped me with ideas on the script. It was quite a soft approach, really, and he did come and visited set and made points. Something about I was running out of shots in the tank. That was one of Ben's ideas. It's kind of obvious, but it's one of those things making a movie where you'd say, in hindsight, I go back and do this and do that. But having Ben and his knowledge of what he's learned from this movie was really useful and really good. So he did really support it.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Nick Gillespie, director of Tank 432.
Thank you.